Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. Happy Monday. The show is brought to you, obviously, by LinkedIn. A lot to get to. Disappointing game, disappointing performance from the Cats, but we got to break it all down. We win together, we lose together. Let's get it, and let's start talking about some Arizona football here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, so you know what? Came off a tough, big win last week, tough loss this week against the Cal Golden Bears. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different avenues that we're going to break down here. But first, we've got to start on the defensive side of the ball here. Defensively, Arizona is in this is 2 straight games now where they haven't been able to set the edge or able to contain the edge, and that's been a problem. Now, against North Dakota State didn't really have the offense, didn't really have the quarterback to be able to possess or to have problems that Arizona could deal with, for lack of a better term. But Cal had a passing game and Cal had a running game that Arizona was not able to stop. And there are obviously some concerning things. Now, again, it's important to keep this big picture on what exactly Arizona is, where exactly Arizona was. But this was obviously a disappointing performance. And it started out early with Jayden taking off and getting into the, breaking free for a long touchdown run. And it didn't really get that much better, to be honest with you. That just it just seemed like it just continued to happen, and it just continued to happen. But there's a couple different things. First, Arizona has to be able to stop the run. And I don't care how they do that. If they just go, even if you just go man across the board or whatever the case may be, and like a single high, you've got to be able to stop the run. Because if you can't stop the run, then you don't even need to worry about stopping the pass. And that's been the problem. That's been the problem for Arizona so far this season, or at least in the last 2 games against North Dakota State and against Cal. Up front, Arizona needs to. I think the D-line, to be honest with you, I think the D-line's okay. The linebackers, though, in the secondary, you wonder what exactly were you doing out here? Because they weren't taking good angles. They weren't taking good anything. I mean, basically, Cal was able to go wherever they wanted against the Wildcats. And I'm not going to pin this on Johnny Nansen. People, you still need to remember that Arizona is 1 year removed from getting Arizona's 1 year removed from being on an almost 20-game losing streak. So you got to keep that in mind when we're complaining about certain things. But again, I think this was a frustrating performance, and I don't think that I'm really breaking any news on that front. So now, just looking up and down on the defensive side, Jackson Turner, he's your best safety. I think at this stage, it's easy to tell that he commands more of an attention from an opposing offense than the other guys do. Christian Young is solid, no doubt about it. Gunnar Maldonado, I don't know, is a Power 5 starter. As a matter of fact, I don't think he's a Power 5 starter. On the defensive side, then, Christian Roland Wallace, we'll talk about Ciro, but we're going to continue to talk about him. He's solid. He's the best corner on the team. He's been the best corner on the team for quite a while, and there's nothing about that that's going to change. Now, where it gets a little bit interesting, though, is that at that linebacker spot, Jerry Roberts has been great all season. This was a tough game for Jerry Roberts. No other way around that. They got to be able to find out who can be that other linebacker, who can be that guy that steps in there and can help Jerry Roberts contain that edge right there, or excuse me, to be able to stop that running game. Because if you don't find that, then this is going to be something where if you're Arizona, you're going to be paddling up creek pretty much the entire season. So they've got to be able to figure something out. I don't know if that means going with a 4-3 alignment, whatever the case may be, but they've got to be able to figure something out right there. Because if they don't, then like I said, this is going to be a problem for them. Now, when it comes to the D line, you got to get more game changing plays right there. Throughout first couple games of the season, 7 turnovers in 3 games. You didn't get any of those really big splash plays there, and that's going to continue to harm the Cats. If they don't figure that one out, that's going to be an issue. But overall, it was just a very, very difficult performance for the Arizona Wildcats defense. They looked small, they looked undersized, and on top of that, they also looked like, they were just like Cal was on a different level. Now, I did say I thought Cal was better than people thought going into this game. I like Jayden Ott. Big fan of Jayden Ott. He's an NFL running back for sure. You got some big time receivers there as well, but they got to figure out something because you're going to be going against other teams that have this. Now, I think one thing that we do need to keep in mind, though, when it comes to Arizona, again, is looking big picture on all of this stuff. Big picture means that where you are, where you're going, and the goals haven't changed. If you're Arizona, the goals have not changed. You want to get to that 5 or that 6 win plateau. It just became harder for sure. There's no doubt about it, but the goals are still there. You can still, you're clearly improved, and we're going to get to the offense in a second because I'm fine with the offense. You're clearly improved. You just need to be able to get better. And I think this also showed you too that Arizona, while, improving, they're not there yet. And, we need to remember that because, this is a big picture process. Dave Hickey talked about it from the beginning that, they wanted to kind of strip everything down and start back up. And that's what they're doing. So again, and keep in mind, people, that Arizona's OU going into this game was 3, or going into the season was 3 wins. Arizona's going to get their 3rd win 5 games into the season. So there's certainly that. And if I were to tell you at a conference that Arizona would be 2-1, you would definitely take that. Again, this was a tough game against Cal. Cal looked like the better team, to be honest with you. And you know what? If you're the better team, I can deal with that. But now looking at the offensive side of the ball, that's where with Jayden da Laura, I am fine with it. I mean, people were complaining about da Laura. I don't get that one at all. I think that, sure, he's far from perfect, but you can definitely win games with Jayden da Laura. There's no doubt about that. You can win football games with him. What I am fascinated to see, though, is what that next how good can he get? Because, again, you've got T-Mac, you got Singer, you got Cowing. I'd like to see maybe another wide receiver get in there as well. But, again, the coaches see these guys up close. I don't see them up close in practice, so it's hard to really say that. But you got to find another guy. Also, Tanner McLaughlin. Big fan of Tanner McLaughlin. And we've joked about it, back when I was on 1290 with Kevin Woodman, we always used to joke about, is this the year that they're going to pretend to use the tight end? And they don't end up using the tight end. Tanner McLaughlin is an absolute beast. This was a great find in the portal by Jed Fish. Big time move getting this kid because he keeps drives alive. He keeps the chains moving. He's been a great acquisition for the for this Wildcat team. Now, we're going to talk in a few minutes about how this maybe impacts recruiting. Again, you got to look big picture with these things, but like I said, offensively, Arizona's fine. It's a million times better than it was last year. And I think it's going to continue to be that way. Again, when da Laura takes off and runs, and this team, again, this Arizona team, there's also not a lot of quit in them because, yes, they didn't play well against Cal, but Arizona teams in the past, when Cal went right down the field and scored that touchdown, Arizona teams in the past would probably have wilted, would probably have, kind of gone into a shell, for lack of a better term. But no, Arizona went right down the field and scored again. And again, the players are there. I thought the offensive line was solid. So again, offensively, I don't really have any complaints with this unit, to be honest with you. I mean, sure, you'd like to score a few more points, but it's on the defensive side of the ball that I think Arizona needs to be able to make some plays with. Now, there are a couple different things. There are a couple different things that I think Arizona fans do need to know about, and and we're going to get to that in just a second. But let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn. Okay, time for LinkedIn. All right, LinkedIn is the number one spot where people go to get jobs and to hire. Wherever it is, LinkedIn is where it's at. I know a ton of people that have been hired. I know a ton of people that have been hired from LinkedIn, and we know a ton of people that hire people via LinkedIn, and that's because it works. Everybody has a LinkedIn. Everybody knows, and there's a reason that it works. There's a reason that everybody does it. So go to linkedin.com/lockedoncollege, and you can post your job for free. Get the applicants you need for free, sponsored by LinkedIn, LinkedIn Jobs. Okay, now talk a little bit of recruiting, because that's what we do here. The one thing that we talked about very quickly was what, with Arizona, what is that next step? Because they're significantly better than they were last year. There's no doubt about that. But what is that next move then? They've got to get bigger. You got to get bigger, and you got to get more impactful on defense. Now, where does it? Now, is that internal, or is that internal, or is that bringing in more players? And I think, to be honest with you, I think it's a little bit of both. You got to get some guys right now. You already see the recruiting class you got coming in is very good, no doubt about it. This past recruiting class is good, but the thing about it, though, is that you can tell with Jedd Fisch is that Jedd Fisch wants to be Jedd Fisch wants to get bigger. And we talked about this, and it was kind of a joke, but if they're going to miss, they are going to miss big. And I'll give you a perfect example. Tylen Gonzalez, perfect example right here. A guy who is big. He's about 6 foot. I don't know. He's about 6'7", 265. Massive kid, very athletic. Massive kid, very athletic, and can can move it around. These are the kind of guys that coaches get paid to work with. These are the kind of guys. This is where people like Brennan Carroll. This is like where Johnny Nansen. This is where they earn their paycheck right there, is getting guys like that in there and getting guys in there to become better football players. Now, it's difficult in the portal because I think a lot of people say, well, why don't you just go get, you got Jacob Cowing in the portal, or you got Jayden da Laura. The problem is there's so few offensive linemen that there's so few offensive linemen out there that are, capable of being a starter. Being able to, because if you're in the portal and you're a starting caliber player, the question I think immediately becomes from a lot of people is why are you in the portal? And, are you really that good? Now, they are that good. They're certainly that good, but it's going to be fascinating to see what exactly happens right there. But again, Jedd Fisch knows what he's doing on the recruiting front. Certainly, that's certainly been proven. So we just got to have faith in him right there. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with you. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now moving forward a little bit. Again, the Cal game. We're going to talk a lot about the Cal game. But the one thing that people do need to know about is where is hold on a second. All right, now quick question right there. When it comes to Arizona, when it comes to the University of Arizona, the one thing too that I need to be able to, that I think that people do need to look at is where are we at? Where are we at going forward? The one thing too that people do need to know about is, if you beat Colorado, if you beat Colorado, you're back to 3 wins at that point. That's where it becomes fascinating. But you got to be able to beat Colorado. The line is out right now, and it's at 19 points. At 19 points, you have you should destroy that team. That game shouldn't be close. That game shouldn't be anything like that. That game should, be right there. Arizona, though, I'm incredibly excited to see what exactly Arizona can do, because right now you got to be able to beat Colorado. That's how you get That's how you get better. That's how you get right. And if you get better, if you get right, then you're going to be good to go. I do think that Arizona is Arizona's in a weird spot right here, because you've got a schedule coming up that isn't as daunting, I think, as a lot of people think that it is. Now, when you've got a guy who when you've got a bunch of players like they have, especially offensively, you're going to be able to stay in games. So you look around the conference right now, ASU stinks, UCLA is meh. The games that I still look at and I say to myself, all right, you got no chance, are Kentucky, or not Kentucky, what am I saying? Are Utah and USC. Those are the games that you don't really have a chance in. Other than that, you have an ability to be able to cause some real problems right there. Because again, I think you can beat Washington State. I think you can beat Oregon. Again, those are going to be tough games. Please don't get me wrong right here. But I do think that those are winnable games right there. That's where it's interesting for me. Now, on top of that, where are we at when it comes to the University of Arizona? Now, where are we at when it comes to wins, losses for the season? And we're going to talk about that next. Keep it here on Locked On Wildcats. All right. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right. Now, here's where we need to talk, though. Now we got to talk about where Arizona's is as far as wins and losses. I think right now, Arizona's kind of at that stage where you got to be able to get to that. You got to get to 5 wins. I don't care how you get to 5 wins. You've got to be able to get to 5 wins. Now, one thing that I think that people do need to know is, one thing that people do need to know is, all right, what does Arizona do? How do they bounce back right here? Now, they bounce back from being able to let's beat down. Now you find out what kind of character you got. And what kind of character you got is where are you going to be right now? Because this team, I think, does have character. They just got to be able to show it. And we're going to find out. Because, again, Colorado is – I don't want to say Colorado's a gimme game, but you should be able to beat Colorado. Going forward, though, you also have the capacity to be able to win some games. And that's where this needs to happen. Now, where is this going to be? Where is this going to come from? And it's got to start with Jayden da Laura. Jayden da Laura's got to be the leader on that team. Jayden da Laura's got to be the guy that everybody looks to, because again, he is the focal point. He is the quarterback. He's where everybody gets their marks from. Now, going forward, where is Arizona going to be? I think they're going to be fine. Again, if I were to tell you before the season that Arizona would be 3-2 after 5 games, you'd be absolutely ecstatic. That's where we're at right now. So I'm excited to see exactly where we're at. But as always, Arizona guys, we win together, we lose together. That's just kind of the way it is. But again, this is going to be a process for Arizona, no doubt about it. But just got to keep the faith, because they're going to get there. Jedd Fisch is going to get there. All right, everybody, we will be back with you tomorrow. Sorry, we had a few technical issues on this part, but you've been listening to Locked On Wildcats.
You are